The basic plot line of Jurassic Park 3 is that a married couple named Paul and Amanda Kirby, played by Tia Leon and William H. Macy, decided that for their son's 13th birthday they would let him take a parasailing tour of the restricted, highly dangerous, dinosaur-infested island known as Isla Sorna. On the tour, the couple's son, Eric, who's played by Trevor Morgan, is accompanied by some random guy who we never see again. After a laughable green screen parasailing sequence, the boat driver magically disappears and the boat crashes, leaving Eric and the other guy stranded on the island. Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Grant, who is miraculously played once again by Sam Neill, is hanging out with Dr. Ellie Sattler from the first movie, who's also reprised by Laura Dern. Grant sits down with Ellie and talks with her about some new discoveries he's made about velociraptors. Apparently, in this universe, raptors had the magical ability of vocally communicating with each other. After a sexually displeasing scene between the two, we cut to Dr. Grant giving a public speech about his new discovery, claiming that had they not gone extinct, raptors would have actually replaced humans as the dominant species on the planet. Yeah, this is where the bullshit begins. This is the first of many, many poorly written sequences that make this film up as a whole. This part of the movie is basically saying that a velociraptor, a dinosaur with a brain the size of a half a chunk of Play-Doh, would have actually become the most intelligent species on the planet. So what's Jurassic Park 4 going to be? Planet of the Raptors? All of us humans are going to be slaves to a bunch of big over-aggressive lizards with tall curvy toenails? We might agree that Grant is just trying to be funny, but no, everybody in the audience claps and applauds him. At least the woman in the suit behind him has a very heavily suppressed smile. You can tell she's trying not to laugh her ass off. After that scene, we cut to a couple of mercenary guys testing out some of their guns that they plan to use against any hungry dinosaurs. Soon after that, the movie cuts to a dig site where Dr. Grant is working at, and we actually see the bone that the raptors used to communicate with each other, which looks nothing like a bone and more like a prehistoric bong. Or like a dinosaur dildo or something. Fuck, I don't know. We see Grant's younger protege, Billy, played by Alessandro Nivola, actually blow his breath into the resonating chamber, and it gives off a weird noise that sounds like somebody exhaling hard into a large paper tube with their hand covering the opposite end. Wow, creepy. Then we see Paul Kirby, who somehow manages to find Dr. Grant at this exact dig site. He invites Dr. Grant and Billy to dinner with his wife. During a dinner scene with Mr. and Mrs. Kirby, Grant, and Billy, the Kirbys persuade Dr. Grant to accompany them on a plane tour of Site B. Apparently, nobody in this movie knows that Site B is a restricted place. I think it makes that perfectly clear at the very beginning of the movie. So Grant is bribed into riding on the jet with the Kirbys and their mercenary cohorts. Long story short, they arrive at the island, and when one of the pilots talks about where to land, Dr. Grant loses it and starts yelling at everybody about how they should not land on the island. Makes sense to me. One of the guys sitting behind Grant knocks him out cold and he wakes up to find that the plane has in fact landed. Am I supposed to assume that they just left Grant's unconscious body lying on the floor in that exact same spot while they landed? Whatever. Anyway, we see Kirby's wife shouting into a megaphone and the mercenary guys load their guns to go dino hunting. Then we hear a loud roar followed by a couple of gunshots. Everybody hauls ass inside the plane and prepares to take off, when we see the same mercenary guy who knocked out Grant earlier is in really bad shape. You really expect me to believe that the gun he blew the crap out of a plane with in an earlier scene can't at least badly wound a big-ass dinosaur? Soon the guy gets eaten by the movie's newest dinosaur, the Spinosaurus. The pilot of the plane freaks out and accidentally swipes the Spinosaurus' big sail and gets blood all over the front windows. They crash into a tree and the Spino attacks them again. One of the pilots is the first to die. Soon after, the Spino manages to eat him really fast. What the hell did he do? Snort him up his nose? We then see the Spino roar really loud and cause the plane to fall out of the tree. Okay. Our heroes run out of the plane and are chased by the Spino. We then run into an old friend, the T-Rex, and as he chases our heroes through the jungle. We then run into the Spino again, and we have... Wow. I really like this. We have what is probably the highlight of the whole movie. Dr. Grant nearly gets stepped on and he screams really loud. Wow, Dr. Grant, that's a really awesome scream, but nowhere near as good as this one. I have to admit, I really do like this fight scene. It's very cool, it's very well animated, it's very realistic, and it's very reminiscent of an old like monster movie fight, something out of King Kong or something like maybe an old Japanese Godzilla movie or something. It's just really cool. I like it a lot. I also remember a lot of people getting really pissed off that the T-Rex is the one who loses to the Spino. But I didn't mind it. I think if people actually did some research, they would actually find that the Spinosaurus, a dinosaur that lived in Africa during the early Cretaceous period, was actually much bigger and stronger than the T-Rex ever was. Another little question I have is, why would the Spino keep chasing after the humans anyway? He just killed a T-Rex. Don't you think that would be enough food for him? The Tyrannosaurs in the other movies would only eat humans if they were readily available. In the first movie, the Rex eats a Gallimimus, ignoring Grant, Lex, and Timmy. In the second movie, the Tyrannosaur realizes that there's a whole bunch of humans hanging around, so he decided he would eat them. But the Spinosaurus only seems to be really satisfied with eating a human. Boy, that realistic animal behavior from the other movies is completely gone and replaced with the stock movie monster quality. Anyway, the rest of the movie is nothing more but chase after chase with even more bad dialogue, writing, and acting. Although one of my favorite scenes is actually when Grant figures out that Kirby is actually a fake, and that he's not a super wealthy tycoon and businessman like he said he was. Grant finishes off the conversation with a great line.
Here we are in the worst place in the world, we're not even being paid.
My question is, if Kirby isn't as wealthy and rich as he says he is, then how is he able to actually afford all these hired guns that he collects? Probably one of the most unbelievably absurd plot holes that happens about halfway through the movie. Dr. Grant finally manages to find Eric, or more appropriately, Eric manages to find him. Soon they hear a familiar ringtone, and then Eric goes to find his parents. His parents eventually hear Eric calling to them, and then eventually they're all reunited, only to find out that it wasn't the ringtone that Paul had, but it was in fact, he gave the phone to the black guy who got eaten by the Spinosaurus. So the phone ring that they were actually hearing came from inside the stomach of the Spinosaurus, right there. Man, there are so many things wrong with this scene, it's groundbreaking. How can they hear the phone ringing when it's inside the dinosaur's stomach? Better yet, how is it that the Spinosaur is able to sneak up on them? It's a big 4-fucking-ton theropod dinosaur. Since when did it become a ninja all of a sudden? Did InGen engineer these dinosaurs to have the ability to teleport, like Nightcrawler from the X-Men comics? We then have a little chase scene where the Spinosaurus smashes through a fence, and our heroes run into a nearby bunker and shut 2 large steel doors behind him. Apparently he can't break through those, but can easily smash through an equally sturdier fence. We then find out that Billy has stolen raptor eggs, in which Grant very harshly scolds him for. You know, if his character was a lot more developed, I might actually feel sorry for him. Like maybe he's not such a bad kid. This movie spends so little time on characters and so much more on chase scenes and action. Like here we have a scene with some pteranodons. And in this scene, Billy tries to save Eric. Again, he's just another 2-dimensional character the filmmakers are trying to make us feel sorry for. Instead, his heroics come off as just being a pointless action sequence. After they escape and find a boat, our heroes find a massive pile of dino crap. They hear the familiar phone ringing again, and we soon find out that this one big pile of shit actually once belonged to the Spinosaurus. A Ceratosaurus just comes out of nowhere just to take up screen time, and we're back on the boat. Boy, this movie sure does have a lot of pointless shit. The Spinosaurus attacks instantly and... oh god, do I even need to say anything about this? Could this be any more cliched? Have the Spinosaurus sail sticking out of the water? Yeah, what does that remind you of? Oh, I don't know. Maybe... Could it be? The shark fin from Jaws? No. Lame. Grant tries to call Ellie for help, but her son is currently occupied watching Barney. Wait, what the... Barney? What? They actually have the nerve to have Barney dancing while the Spinosaurus is walking around, skulking around, trying to eat people? Why the hell would they do that? What were they smoking? I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I can't take this movie seriously anymore. This film just went from mediocre to horrendous in only a matter of fucking seconds. The signal fades out on Ellie's phone as Grant is dragged down into the river. Alan finds a flare gun and fires it at the Spinosaurus, but the flare backfires and falls into the water, and the Spinosaurus is scared away by the fire. The plane propellers at the beginning didn't even graze him, yet he doesn't like fire? So after a bunch of mushy-cushy family-loving crap,